Art is too important not to share. Welcome to the Allie and Callie Artcast.
Hi, I'm Allie.
And I'm Callie, and welcome to the Artcast.
Yes, welcome. And guess where we are today?
I don't know. Where are we?
Well, we're doing one of our favorite things. We are drinking wine at Stylus Wine and Vinyl.
We're starting off great.
Yep.
Welcome to the podcast. We're already having fun. We had a lovely brunch. This is our 153rd episode.
It is.
Wow.
And this is our fourth season, our last episode, and we like to give a toast to all the wonderful people we've spoken with this year.
Cheers.
And we also want to thank our lovely hosts, Krista and Robby, for having us here.
Of course.
And
yes,
of course, our wonderful guests that we're looking forward to speaking with.
Us.
Oh
Right.
my gosh. You know, this is one of it is our favorite.
It is.
It really is.
Yeah, for sure.
Not because it's the last one of the year, but it's because we love the science of wine. Mm-hmm. Did you like how I used the word science?
I did.
Okay.
That was very scientific
every
of you.
Every time we talk to winemakers and sommeliers that we learn a little bit more. Mm-hmm. And it's not just like, I love the taste of this, and I'm tasting the Syrah. And I
From Sleight of Hand Winery.
Sleight of Hand, and it's delicious. And we became wine club members.
Yes,
from
we
the
did.
Walla Walla Sleight of Hand
yep.
Winery a couple months ago when we were in Walla Walla doing a couple episodes of podcasting.
Right.
And it was delightful.
It was.
And the wine is
And
divine.
we will go back and
we
do
will
more.
be back. Yes. Look out, Walla Walla.
That's what everybody needs to remember is that we're so close in Coeur d'Alene to Walla Walla. You can drive there.
It's so great.
It's like
it's
one
like
of my
a
most
3-hour
favorite
drive.
places in the world. Yes.
It is.
3 hours,
Yes.
3:15 of the month.
3 hours and 15. It's super close, and it's a lovely little town, and there's great food, but most importantly, there's great wine.
Yes.
Yes.
And hence
And great people.
and hence the meeting today. We're meeting with Trey.
We're meeting with Trey Busch from Sleight of Hand. Yay! Thanks for being
And he
here.
brought his lovely wife Holly, who's
Yes.
not speaking, but she might say something later. I don't know.
Yeah, you
I
never
think
know.
we should have her
Right
on a
here.
podcast. She has.
I know we're going to have her, but I think we need to dedicate a whole
whole separate
podcast to
podcast.
I
that
think
one.
so, because
Yeah.
I like what she does. I think
And we're
that's
trying
very
to get
cool.
her up here to do a performance at
Oh,
Stylus.
my
We're
God.
kind of in the works right now.
I love
It's
that
so
idea.
much fun.
Yep.
I
So
think we
she's a burlesque performer.
Yeah.
So that I think that'll be really
that
fun.
would be very fun.
Yeah,
So-
for sure.
Yes.
But let's hear a little bit more about Sleight of Hand and Trey about your winery and how did it come all about, and tell us about your history.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Okay. Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me. This
course.
is an awesome Sunday. So I moved to Walla Walla 24 years ago. I was living in Seattle, working for Nordstrom. I had a friend who owned a record store in Seattle. Everything's coming back to music, by the way. But my friend Jamie Brown, a good friend of mine, he moved to Walla Walla in 1997 or 98. And I went to visit Jamie and see what Walla Walla is all about. And his next door neighbor was a guy named Eric Dunham. And Eric was the owner and winemaker for Dunham Cellars.
Dunham Cellars.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
And so,
Don't they have the 3 dogs?
Three-Legged Red.
Yes.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
That's
Okay.
named after Eric's dog, Port. And so Eric and I became fast friends, and that friendship over the course of a couple of years turned into a job opportunity.
Yeah.
So I went to work for Eric to learn how to make wine. I was technically his assistant winemaker, although I didn't know the first thing about the wine business.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know anything about making wine. I just knew that I loved his wine. And Eric was confident that he could teach me the same way that he learned, because he went to go work for L'Ecole 41 back in the mid-90s.
Oh, wow.
So he worked for Marty Club at L'Ecole 41 and was his assistant winemaker for 4 years before leaving L'Ecole full-time to focus on Dunham. So I worked for Eric for 2 years, learned kind of the art of winemaking, you said the science of winemaking, but Eric was more of an artistic winemaker rather than a scientific winemaker. And in a lot of ways, it's very difficult to teach. Science is easier to teach because here's science. This happens.
It's a formula. And
Yeah. Artistic winemaking is doing things by the way you feel. And it's like, this feels right. And so that's a little harder to teach, I think. But I'm glad I learned under him because I took that with me. I went to Basil Cellars. I started that winery in 2002. And I was a winemaker there for 5 years.
Oh, wow.
And I left there in the spring of 2007 to start Sleight of Hand with my business partner, Jerry, and his wife, Sandy Solomon. And so that was in 2007. So we just finished our 18th harvest for Sleight of Hand.
Wow, yay.
My 25th harvest overall. So this is my 25th year anniversary.
Wow, congratulations.
I know, thank you. It's just crazy to think about.
I have to say this. The first time I met you, Naomi from the wine cellar, well, we both worked at the wine cellar, but we were down there at Sevilla for this auction that the owners of the wine cellar won. And we had gone out with Richard Funk for like a dinner or a lunch during the day. And then there was a dinner at Sevilla that night. And I talked to you and you told me your story and I had drank a lot of wine. And I remember you were telling me your story and I was just bawling my head off. And I don't remember what year it was, but I will never forget meeting you that day and you're telling me your story about how you worked in corporate and then you just fell in love with wine and you came to Walla Walla to learn how to make wine and started your own winery. And I was very emotional. I mean, I probably would have been anyway, but also I had drank a lot that day. And I've always thought about that and I'm like, he must have thought I was the biggest idiot.
No, not at all. Here's the thing. Anyone who knew Eric, they feel exactly the same way. Yeah. And so if they really knew him, it's easy to feel that way.
Yes.
So, I certainly felt that way. This is the 10-year anniversary of when he passed this year. So back in October. So.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he started a lot of cool things in Walla Walla too with the Pursuit and stuff like that too. Yeah, made a big impact.
Yeah, for sure. His legacy is deep for sure. He has a lot of people still in the business in Walla Walla or even outside the area that worked there or learned under him or whatever. So
well, I love the fact that you guys are learning to make wine, and then you go out and you start a winery of your own. And it's like you're propagating wineries.
No, for sure.
It's fun.
When I moved there in 2000, there were 14 bonded wineries in Walla Walla.
That is insane.
And 2 years later, the very first Walla Walla Valley Wine Alliance map came out. And I remember they got dropped off at the winery at Dunham. And I was in the office with Mike and Eric. We opened it up and we're kind of flipping through, and it's like 34, something like that. And we're like, 30?
2 years later?
Who in their right mind thinks that this town can support 34
And now,
that's honestly God, the truth. I was like, there's no way we're going to be, like, who is going to come here?
It's crazy.
And keep these people open.
And then...
Yep, it's obviously we're 100 and whatever number it is, 160, whatever.
Wow,
there's so many.
I know there's so many.
So tell us, what does the name mean? Sleight of Hand.
So Sleight of Hand is named after a Pearl Jam song. I'm a huge Pearl Jam fan. If you've ever been to our tasting room, it's lined with posters everywhere. So it's named after my favorite Pearl Jam song. As I mentioned earlier, it's like everything goes back to music in a lot of ways. As we're sitting here in Stylus, I look around like this feels like home.
I love that.
And it feels like home too, because our house looks exactly the same way. So.
This is how our house looks too.
Basically, it's plants and vinyl and rock and roll pictures and posters on the wall.
Yep, we modeled this. We wanted this to be the second home,
Right.
When I come up next time, I'm going to bring you guys a photo for your wall.
Oh my gosh.
Because you've got all these great rock and roll pictures up here, and I've taken a lot of really cool photos, and we've got a few hanging in our house, and so I'll get one printed for you guys.
Oh, that would be amazing. Cool. We'd be honored to have that here.
Yeah,
so cool.
Awesome.
We want to remind you that you've got to go down to Sleight of Hand and see their winery, because they spin some amazing records, and you can choose them.
You can pick out whatever you want, except for Journey's Greatest Hits. That's been banned.
Draw the line.
That was taken off of literally. We literally took it out of the bin and put it in the back office because It's like 1 out of 4 people goes to that or rumors. Now, rumors, I'm not tired of rumors. I never will get tired of rumors. But it's a very common choice.
Yeah, I get it. I get it.
You know.
Yeah.
But they have a beautiful winery, and we were lucky to be there a couple months ago. We sat outside on the deck, and it was just lovely. And just to listen to music, drink wine. I mean, it feels like a simpler time. I don't know. There's something about enjoying a good glass of wine and listening to music, talking with your best friends.
Yeah.
I mean, there is nothing better than that.
Nothing better.
Yeah, that's exactly why we built that place to be that. It was a place where we want you to hang out. It's you know, if you have a 1 hour appointment, it's not like we want you to leave in an hour. Like we want you to feel like this is your living room. Come do a tasting. If you like the wines, have a glass of wine. Listen to music with us.
And that's the way it's set up too. Is like you go in there and people are just chilling on couches and listening to vinyl and drinking amazing wines. And you have so many cool wines that are winery only that you can drink and purchase there, which I love that about it.
Yes,
because I love all of your wines, but then getting to get the little zingers,
the niche stuff that doesn't make it out in the broad market and stuff. Yeah.
And you can also join their wine club.
Ooh, we got a good one. And we have a vinyl club.
Oh,
which I started 2 years ago.
Oh, fun.
And you know, when this is over, we're talking.
Okay.
Because I feel like you have members that we could
join.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Anyway, but I work with record labels and artists to either put out brand new albums for them, and so it's basically they'll do 200 copies just for us.
Oh, wow!
Our vinyl club in our own special color, pressed wax or whatever. Sticker that says just, that kind of stuff. Or we'll go back to a label and have something repressed that's been out of print for 30 years.
That's amazing.
So it's kind of a unique, the genre is all over the board, so it's not like you're stuck with one genre of music.
Right.
So if you're in our wine club, you can opt in to our vinyl club.
Ooh.
Which is kind of fun.
And get music that you can't get anywhere else.
Right.
Get vinyl records that you cannot get anywhere else, which is
I know, what
really
a great
cool.
combination, wine and music.
Yeah.
They
go together.
Yeah, of course
We'll ship you and Robby up some of our vinyl club releases too.
Oh my God,
that's awesome.
Well, we'll just join the vinyl club.
You can
there you go.
Oh, yeah.
Vinyl club.
Yay.
Join it.
So how does that work? How does joining the vinyl club work?
That's once you join our wine club, our tasting staff will ask you, we have a vinyl club too. And it's 4 times a year. We ship 4 albums out a year, and they cost $20 to $30.
Wow.
So it's completely separate of the wine club.
Okay.
And then I always include this 1-page sheet about the record.
Right.
And I like storytelling.
Yeah.
Okay, well, why did you choose this album? And so I'm going to go back, and it's not I just picked it because of this. It's I remember listening to this and, my mom's car listening to Elton John on 8-track, and this artist reminds me of whatever. So
Greetings, listeners of the Allie and Callie Artcast podcasts. This is Jason from Tubbs Coffee Roasters. Keeping art alive and culture relevant is the heart and soul of our community of creatives. And as a local coffee roaster who loves a good origin story of a painter or a farmer or a musician, we proudly support the Allie and Callie's Artcast podcast's expansion and exploration through positive conversation. So grab a cup of coffee, preferably one from Tubbs Coffee Roasters, and tune in, humans. Your ears will thank you.
The Ovation Company, in partnership with the Chalkboard Agency, is committed to improving the climate and culture of our schools. The number one indicator for student success is connectedness, feeling like you are part of something. Nothing helps connect people like a good story. After all, isn't a podcast a way to share and collect stories? The Chalkboard Agency's mission is to connect the world of education through the stories that bond us all. To find out more, visit thechalkboardagency.com. And if you have a story to tell that you believe would help young people to be kinder to one another, reach out to the Chalkboard Agency and let us connect you to the world.
I just want to make sure you know that phantom sommelier voice. Am I saying it right? We always have a hard time with that word.
Yes, no, that sounds great.
Sommelier.
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 It's Krista French. She's like world renowned.
Som for short.
I have hardly. Yes.
Well, you've been to places, baby.
Yeah, but I'm not. Yeah. Thank you for that, but not so much.
But you know a lot
famous
about
on my
wine.
own mind.
Right,
You're
exactly.
famous to us, and we love that you know so much about wine.
And just a reminder that Krista and her husband Robby are the owners of Stylus Wine and
And on 4th Street, what's your address?
2605 North 4th Street.
Okay,
Suite 105.
That's right. So please
Coeur d'Alene, Idaho.
2 blocks north of I-90.
Yeah,
That's right.
Yeah.
And it's such a delightful place. So come down.
Thank you.
Come down. Just a little sidetrack. We want you to know that's where we are, and it's fabulous.
Yep.
Thanks.
So we're here talking wine.
Yes, with Trey from Sleight of Hand. And I did want to mention, okay, we were talking about records, vinyl. Remember what those were? Vinyl.
Yes.
I love vinyl. What was I like to ask everyone, what was your first vinyl you bought?
That's right.
What was my first vinyl? Like, what record did I buy?
Yeah.
Yes. I know mine exactly.
Honestly,
Tell me.
I think that it was purchased for me was
That counts.
Chipmunk Punk. Was a punk cover album by the Chipmunks.
Okay, I'm older than you.
And it was like Blondie, Call Me, Devo,
Oh my
a
gosh.
Ramon song.
Oh my gosh, how funny.
And I remember that because at my mom's house,
That's
she
cute.
had maybe a stack of like 50 albums. Mm-hmm. And that was my album. And then
Yeah.
the rest of them were like lots of Billy Joel, lots of Boz Scaggs.
Oh, yeah.
Lots of Chicago.
Oh, yeah.
Lots of Fleetwood Mac.
Yeah.
And my dad was more like the rock guy, Led Zeppelin, The Who,
Yeah.
stuff like that.
Yeah.
So has a good base had a good foundation from a
That's fun.
music standpoint with my folks.
Yeah.
So.
That's fun.
Yeah.
What was your first, Krista?
The first album I remember listening to is my dad collected vinyl, and I had like a little kid record player, and he had 45s, and
yeah.
it was The Animals' House of the Rising Sun. I would listen to that song
Oh,
all the time, and I was
yeah.
like, we moved
Good
out of
one.
that house in 4th grade, so I remember
Oh, yeah.
listening to that, and they had a lot of the beach, what is it?
Beach.
Beach Boys? The Beach Boys, yes. The Beach Boys. Sorry, I'm tired and I've had a glass
That's all right.
of wine.
It's all good.
So I listened to Nowhere Man. I remember listening to
Nowhere
Nowhere Man, which I
Man.
don't. Those are the two
Yeah.
I remember. And then my mom loved Barry Manilow. And
yeah.
my
Oh,
dad
my mom
loved
loved
Lionel
Barry
Richie.
Manilow.
Oh, yeah. Lionel
So-
Richie, sure.
Older, a little bit older, I would lay behind the couch with headphones on and listen to those albums. But my
yeah.
dad had like Leonard Skinner and Led
yeah.
Zeppelin and all
I
that
love
stuff
that.
too.
Yeah.
And Sonny and Cher,
Oh, yeah.
Sade, Phoebe Snow.
Oh, Phoebe Snow.
I remember listening to all that with my dad. So
fun.
I never really thought about that till we opened this. That
Isn't
I
it
was
great,
so
though?
young when I started listening to vinyl.
records.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
Right.
love them.
Wow.
Well, mine was Moody Blues.
Oh,
Nights
that's a
and
good
White
one.
Sands.
That is a good one.
boy.
That was the first one I bought. I mean, I remember I was all Beatles all the way. Mm-hmm. But my dad, I mean, it was Dave Brubeck. I mean, we had everything.
Oh, the good
from-
stuff.
Yeah, Take Five
Oh,
is
Take
probably
Five.
my number in my top 5. Oh my God, top 5 of all time, but also classical. So I had a little wide variety. But the Moody Blues, when he does the poetry at the end
Right.
of it, I was like, what is this? Acting at the end of a song?
Which has led to you to where you are now.
I love this.
Right.
I love that album, but I just love the harmonies. I love everything about it. But Allie, what was yours?
Well, I can't say that I'd ever bought an album until I moved to Coeur d'Alene. So
What?
Well, I just didn't need to because somebody was always buying the music.
Oh, okay.
But the first album I ever got was Tom Jones' Green Green Grass of Home.
Oh,
Jones.
Joe.
That and Dionne Warwick. I
Walk
think
On
it was
By?
called Whipped Cream. I think that was on it.
I love that song.
Going back to your story about the little kids
45 player?
Yeah. We had one of those, and it would close into like a box.
Like a suitcase.
Yeah.
Yep.
I would play the music, the soundtrack from The Sound of Music, and I would stand on the box and I would sing, and I swore to God that I sounded just like Julie Andrews.
You did.
I'm sure you did.
Keep that memory alive.
Yes.
Right.
Isn't that how important that music sticks with you? That's how
sure.
vinyl is. I mean, it's so different than, I love music, all music of today, but how great it is to go into places like Sleight of Hand, Stylus, and you can listen to these records. And I know they're called vinyls, right? I call them records. That's how old I am.
Right.
If you look at the chart of album sales, like the physical media, when you're buying albums, the shift to CDs happened in the mid 80s. Vinyl started going down.
Yeah.
And by the early 2000s, there was in the basement.
Yeah.
Right.
2007 was the year that Record Store Day was started, and it's basically a national holiday for record stores around the country, independent record stores, to start releasing stuff back on vinyl again. And it was the first year that there was a slight uptick in vinyl sales, and it's the year that Sleight of Hand opened. Coincidence? I don't know.
Perfect.
But
You're like,
what I do know is, if you go back and look at that chart, the same year that we opened our tasting room in downtown Walla Walla with 100 albums, you saw that. And now it was like this.
You did it.
So
awesome. You
Finally, that was my goal.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Wow,
Vinyl back
that's
on the
really
fast
cool.
track.
That's awesome. So tell us a little bit about your wine. So,
Yes,
So
we
let's
do make wine.
You do make wine. I know. I love the music. We could talk music forever.
I know,
This is
right?
like a 4-parter. Okay.
Yeah.
You're never leaving. So
Right.
anyway, we'll go back to the wine a little bit.
And before you get started, I understand that the actor that played Doogie Howser is like a huge fan of your wine.
He is. He's on one of our labels.
Right.
Yeah, Neil Patrick Harris.
Yep.
Yep.
I love that.
Yep.
Sleight of Hand.
He discovered our wines in Hollywood at the Magic Castle, the very famous Magic House.
Oh yeah.
And he was on the board of directors for a long time, and we happen to have our wines being glass poured there. Sleight of Hand, of course. And he had our wines and joined our wine club online, and that sort of friendly email relationship turned into, hey, do you want to be on one of our wine bottles? And lo and behold, he does. So
That's so cool. Has he
cool.
visited your winery yet?
Not yet.
Dang it.
Well,
Not yet.
we need to get him
Let's
on.
get that little sucker
Neil,
up there.
Where are you?
We have all the other stars down there. We got to get him. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So tell us about your wine.
The different wines,
Yeah.
yes.
Right
So
now.
we do make a lot of different wines. We make a dry Riesling. We make an old vine Chardonnay. We make a lot of red wines. So we make a couple of different blends. We have a red table wine blend, and we have our estate Bordeaux blend. We have a reserve blend of Cab Franc and Merlot. We've got a reserve Cabernet. We make 2 different Grenaches. We make 5 different Syrahs every year.
which I'm drinking
Wow.
right now. Which
You have one of our Syrahs.
I love it.
Wine Club's Syrah called Levitation. We make 3 different wines off the rocks. And we make a wine from one of our estate vineyards called Elevation Vineyard, but the block called Ziggy Stardust. And we make a wine called Spiders from Mars.
That's the one we have when we were down. We took the staff down. That was such a cool bottle of wine.
We can work on getting you, like, if you want a little bit of that here,
Yes,
Yeah.
I would love
So
that.
we can make that.
And
for you.
what was? I remember your amazing guy that works there. I can't remember
Tim.
his name. I loved him.
Tim's
Tim
great.
is so good.
Yep. Tim and kimonos.
But yes, he's amazing. But he was telling us a story about the vineyards and the vines and how they grow. Like, it's insane.
Yep. It's planted. The vineyard's planted on a south-facing slope, 6 miles up the Walla Walla River. So you're in the river
So your
canyons.
grapes, you have your own grapes. You do not bring your grapes from somewhere else.
We do both. We buy fruit from vineyards, but we also have estate blocks as well.
Okay.
So we're a mix.
Awesome.
Right.
But
That's
we have to hear about this. For the wine nerds out there, we have to hear about this vineyard area because it's so interesting.
Yeah.
So there's only 3 vineyards in the area. Christophe from Cayuse Winery has a vineyard up there called Or Category, and he makes one wine from it. It's a Syrah, and it is the most expensive bottle of wine in Washington. It's $260 a bottle, I think now.
Woo!
It's an amazing vineyard site. A quarter mile up the river is where Elevation and Ziggy Stardust is. And then another half mile up the river is Force Majeure Winery, which is a high-profile winery here in Washington now. Planted at a very high elevation, almost 2,000 feet elevation in the valley. The Walla Walla Valley, 800 to 1,000 feet in the valley. So you're 1,000 feet higher than that up in the mountains. Mm-hmm. So all this new exploratory stuff happening up there, and we're finding the flavor profile, the wines are just completely different from what the Walla Walla Valley is. Completely different. And so the Spider Shamars that we make, which is Holly's favorite wine, and definitely one of my favorite wines.
Me too. I love that wine.
Favorite.
Yeah.
I still kept the bottle. We bought a Magnum, and I still have it at my house.
Yeah.
With my little pothos plants hanging out of it.
Yeah.
And I love that
and
wine.
that's named after a David Bowie song.
Yes,
So Spider Shamars.
Oh, Spider.
And Ziggy Stardust is the name of the block. So the vineyard is planted on a south-facing slope. It is all fractured basalt, very little to any actual soil. The plants were put in, and the posts were put in with it basically jackhammered out. So they jackhammered all these holes on this 45-degree slope.
Oh, wow.
And then planted a plant next to it. And so it's head trained.
Freaking cool.
It's meter by meter. So I'll show you guys a picture a little later on.
Yeah, that's crazy.
But it's
like, how does that grow?
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. This is so interesting. Like, people think of wine, it's just like, oh, it's like so delicious, and it is.
But it grew in rocks.
But like
it was literally grown in fractured rock.
But this is what I don't think people think about when they're thinking about wine, is that there are vineyards like this that are so special and unique that produce
delicious
wine that doesn't taste like anything else anywhere else. It's like you talk about terroir, and it is 100% terroir in this bottle.
And especially on top of the way we make it too. So especially with our Rhone varietals, so Syrah and Grenache, we use very little new oak. Don't like to add a ton of flavor profile from the oak barrel to what we're getting, especially from Syrah and especially Grenache. Grenache sees no new oak at all. The Spider Shamar sees no new oak at all. So they're truly expressions of just where they're from.
So when you say you're not using new oak, what are you using?
We're using old barrels. Old barrels. They're like 6, 7, 8 years old.
Okay.
They have no flavor left in them.
I got you.
So why do you use the old barrels? Like, what does that do to the...
Having older barrels instead of newer barrels, there's just no flavor profile. So I don't have to worry about the oak flavor getting into it and adding something, whether beneficial or not. That's all.
It's not going to change it.
That's interpretation.
But it's adding texture to the wine.
So you do get oxygen interaction, which fattens the wine up, and that helps that wine develop over 18 months in barrel or 20 months in barrel, whatever it is.
Right.
But we're also 100% native fermentation in the winery. We don't add any cultured yeast. So we're not buying yeast from a lab that has a specific purpose and can bring out certain flavor profiles because of the way this yeast interacts with the wine. We just allow the yeast in the vineyards that we work with to do our fermentation, so they're more expressive of where they're from.
Right.
We don't add acid. We don't add tannin.
Doesn't hurt me.
We don't add...
Doesn't hurt me.
enzymes to help break down the grapes even further to extract more color or more tannin. There's like a lot of tools in a winemaker's toolbox that you can use.
Right.
We're very hands-off on the winemaking side. So we basically will add a little bit of food for the yeast so the yeast stay healthy to be able to finish their job.
Right.
But outside of that, we use a lot of whole cluster, meaning that we will foot crush our grapes, and so the stems are part of the fermentation. It does add a flavor, those add a texture that we find beneficial for our wines, the way that we think that they should taste, and the way they feel, and
do you literally foot crush it?
I have got in there and foot crushed a lot of wine, but
when you do that again, we'll be happy.
Yeah, we'll help you.
All right,
the Allie and
We'll be
Callie
like Lucy show.
Lucy and Callie. Lucy, Allie and Callie.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I love that though, because then the wine is expressing the fruit. It's not, you're not masking it with oak or with additives or with it just tastes like the place.
We're not trying to make it's not a recipe. Essentially, it is what did this vintage from this vineyard give us.
Right.
And because a lot of people talk about, yes, the vineyard is very important. Yes, the winemaking is very important.
Sure.
But the vintage has such a strong impact on the final wine, and winemakers have the ability to mask that vintage.
Yeah.
By playing up the flavors of oak and doing different tricks in the winery to like maybe concentrate the wines a little more. So if like in a cooler vintage, you can do these things to maybe like make up for what you think are not necessarily defects, but something that you maybe don't want in your wine. For us, I find that those are more expressive and more truly storytelling of what we're making. And because you should be able to tell a wine that's from a cool vintage from a warm vintage.
Right.
In my opinion, that's my opinion.
So is that more of a with having all the tannins and all the extra stuff? Is that a little more European where there's not all that extra additives and all that stuff?
Yeah, a little bit. They do all those tricks over there too.
They do. Okay.
They do. A lot of people think they don't, but
they do.
All
okay.
that.
Because they tell you they don't, and I'm like, well, I never had a headache in Europe. Never.
Yeah.
But so I'm wondering, and they always say, well, Americans, they do all this stuff.
I don't know. I don't know.
What is the truth?
It probably depends on the winery too. Because if you're at a winery that's mass producing wines, like for instance, J. Lore, where you're buying a bottle that you want to know is the same bottle every time.
That is true, though. There is when you develop a brand that is so big that the majority of customers that are buying that wine are expecting this wine to taste exactly the same. There's nothing wrong with that. Absolutely nothing wrong with that.
And people do love those brands. So
I'll tell you, to be honest with you, it's harder to do that.
Create at the same time.
You're
How do you
making
do
wine
that?
from 70 vineyards and 200,000 cases of something. To make that taste the same year in, year out. It's
true.
Kudos to them to do that. Like,
that would be a nightmare. That would be a nightmare.
I know, but I like the creativity of the whole idea of every year is a little different. It's based on all these different variables.
It's not for everybody. It's for the people that maybe truly want to know what the story is behind what you're making. And I recognize, as a producer, I've been in this business for 25 years, I recognize that it's actually a very small amount of people that really, truly care about that story. The rest of the people just better taste good. And thankfully, I feel like we fit both those niches. Wine's still going to taste good. But there are a number of people that are like, I really love the story too.
Yes, and
I respect that you do this way. So... I respect all winemakers because they are telling their story. It does not mean that I like their wines, the style of wines they're making, but that's the story they want to tell.
Right,
and there's nothing wrong with that.
No,
as long as the wines aren't flawed, like noticeably flawed, if VA's too much or they have Britannomyces or any of that other stuff. As long as the wines aren't flawed.
Or you store it and the cork flies out across your floor and the wine is all over your new carpet.
This sounds like it may have happened.
That did happen.
It sounds like a personal experience.
Add a little flair to your special events with Scraps Barbecue, a great catering choice for your next gathering. Specializing in golf tournaments, sporting events, weddings, and other family-friend gatherings, their commercial kitchen can be on site, or you can choose to have a fully catered meal delivered right to you. Known for their authentic Santa Maria-style tri-tip and tequila lime fish tacos, they can customize the menu to meet your needs for groups of 20 to 2,500. Contact Kevin at kevin@scrapsbarbecue.com or check them out on Facebook.
For all your screen printing needs, trust the local you can count on. Pyramid Printing has been a Coeur d'Alene favorite for over 2 decades.
Specializing in screen printing, embroidery, signs, banners, and stickers. For all jobs, big and small, just give Eric a call.
Email us at info@pyramidprintingcda.com or give us a call at 208-664-0254.
pyramidprintingcda.com.
Let us know what's coming up at the winery. Any exciting events?
It is December, and we've been doing it for the past 5 or 6 years now. We have a thing called the 12 Days of Sleight of Hand.
Oh, fun.
And so anybody in our wine club, hint, you guys.
Yep, we got it.
Or on our mailing list, we send out a different deal every day for 12 days. And you guys already get great discounts. They're like steeper discounts of what you guys are already getting. Even our mailing list people, if they're not in a wine club, they get some great discounts. We're offering some wines that are only available through this deal because we made like 2 barrels of it. So we know that we'll sell 50 cases of it with the offer. So it's one of those things that's just kind of fun to check your emails every day and see what kind of, wines we got going on. Then we have a concert in Seattle because we do have a taste room in Seattle.
What?
Called,
Where?
It's in Sodo, Sleight of Hand Sodo. We have one in Woodinville as well.
I love Woodinville. I got married there once.
Yeah, once.
I always like to say that.
That's hilarious. Yeah, so we have our Seattle Sodo location is also a concert venue. And so we've got this amazing artist named Joseph Arthur who's performing on the 13th, December 13th.
Fun.
And then we're the wine sponsor for Smooch, which is an organization in Seattle that raises money for Children's Hospital. It's called Seattle Musicians for Children's Hospital.
Oh, cool. I love
They'll
that.
raise a couple of $1 million for this event every year. So we're the wine sponsor for that.
Awesome.
It's on December 14th at the Showbox in Seattle. I think that's it. And then January is quiet.
Then you get to relax.
And you get a break.
A little
Take
bit.
a break.
No, not really. Now that's when I have to make all my business. We have to talk to our distributors for the year.
Right.
Well.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, that's exciting.
We might get a vacation in there somewhere.
Yeah. So. In the meanwhile, we've got Robby French here now.
Hi.
Co-owner of Stylus Wine. I never say it right.
Stylus.
I'm sorry. I don't know what
Stylus
it is.
Wine and Vinyl.
She said it. What did you say earlier?
Winery.
Vinery. We actually thought about making shirts that said vinyl, ?
Vinyl?
Like vinyl.
Vinyl.
And vinyl.
Vinyl.
Well, Rob, we spelled our vinyl club was spelled VINE YL with apostrophe.
Yeah, that's
and then my podcast,
Yes.
Let's Talk Vinyl, is spelled the same way.
I love
it's
that.
Wine and vinyl.
So don't forget, check it out on Podbeam. All those.
All your favorite
all those things,
podcast apps.
We have Robby French here, and he is our vinyl expert and a performer extraordinaire who's also directing Rent at Lake City Playhouse that opens when, Robby?
It opens January 31st. And runs 3 weekends. Closes February 16th.
Okay.
All right.
So, Robby, I want to go back to a question I asked everyone. What was your first vinyl?
That I purchased with my own money.
Yes, with your own money. I called it a record because I'm older than everyone here.
Yeah.
No, you're not.
All right.
Well,
Allie's older than me.
Well,
Anyway.
just to touch base on that really quick, plural of vinyl is vinyl.
Okay.
And a lot of people think it's vinyl. So that happens every day.
It's
It's
vinyl.
not binary.
It's vinyl.
It's vinyl. We're going to make sure it's...
But I call it a record because they were records in my day.
Yeah. Or just call them records.
Okay.
We call it LPs.
Right.
LPs.
Or LPs.
LPs.
Yeah. So what was it? I'm
don't
just
call
curious.
them 45.
Well,
And you're really
my
old.
first record I purchased with my own money was a jazz record, actually. Because I got
What was
into
it?
collecting records when I was playing jazz in school. Playing drums. So that was the only way I could buy that format of music. These early recordings was on vinyl. So the first record I bought with my own money was Glenn Miller's Greatest Hits.
Yes.
Yeah.
Nice.
Just big band stuff, because that's what I was
I
playing in
love
school.
it.
Who was the drummer for Glenn Miller's big
Oh man,
band?
I can't even remember. I mean, I could grab it from the wall.
Glenn Miller.
Yeah.
Okay. Who was it?
But the first,
I was thinking it'd be like a Max Roach album or something like that. But
I love Max Roach too. But I remember buying Buddy
Stan
Rich
Kenton. That's
Yeah.
not. He's
Rupa
not a
and
drummer.
those guys as well after
Yeah.
the first
Trying
big
to
band
think
album.
who it was. See, I would know, but I'm old and I can't remember.
Yeah.
So anyway, look it up, Krista.
I'm sure you could buy that record now for.
Glenn Miller. Yeah.
But
I wish.
it's special. It's special to me.
Right, right.
Have you been vinyl shopping
I know,
recently?
I know.
Oh my
Use
God.
vinyl through the roof
So
again.
let me ask both of you, Trey and Robby, because you're the vinyl experts. Where do you buy your records?
In 2007, when we started the winery, I think I owned maybe 50 albums myself.
Okay.
I had,
Really?
I had a turntable that I bought in 1994 in Seattle at Hawthorne Stereo, which is a great
I know
used
exactly where that is.
trade-in used equipment, really good stuff. I bought a used Rega turntable. I still have it in my home today. And I bought a pair of JPW bookshelf speakers and a really nice name NAIM amp and preamp. And I remember that was the first real cool piece of equipment I've ever owned, all of it. And next door was my friend Jamie Brown. I told you about the reason I moved to Walla Walla. Jamie owned a record store called Ruby Records, and Jamie got me into jazz. Even though I used to go shop at his store to go buy Pearl Jam bootleg CDs in the back room. He had a little curtain. You'd go back there. They were illegal. You were not allowed to sell them.
Oh my God,
$50 a pop. It was ridiculous.
Oh my God.
But I remember listening to records with him, and he's like, "No, vinyl's where it's at." Blah blah. Like at the time, I'm like, "Sure, man, I'm in." And I remember buying like ballads by Coltrane. It's still on my all-time favorite album stuff.
So good.
That's
good. That was mid-90s, so it's like by this time vinyl was just dead. So these little independent record stores that were selling used vinyl were, luckily I lived in Seattle. I'd say they're few and far between. There were enough of them there. But Easy Street Records, which is now still one of the greatest record stores on the planet. I bet I bought 500 albums there in our collection from the winery.
Oh, that's awesome.
But since then, we opened up a tiny little record store in the tasting room. So when you guys come into the Walla Walla tasting room, we sell about 800 titles.
Wow.
So now when you ask where I buy my records, I buy them straight from the distributor at wholesale.
Right.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And Trey, you have a record club too.
And we have a record club, the vinyl club we talked about earlier.
I love that.
His is much bigger than ours.
Oh.
I only got like 40 people.
You have a club?
We're gonna talk about some collaboration stuff.
I think you should.
I think we have the ability to press stuff that you wouldn't. You're too small at 40; they're not going to do it for you.
Exactly.
But at 300 and 400, they will.
Right.
So
that's cool.
It's not
Where did you get your records from?
Well, I grew up. My dad was super into vinyl, so I grew up, with a really nice turntable and sound system and all that. But I started collecting around that time in high school when I had like a little stack I grew up with, like Sesame Street records with the read-along Disney book stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Then I never played them as I got older. But then when I got into jazz, then I started buying more of those albums. And then my dad would hand me down like doubles of some rock LPs he didn't want anymore, this and that. And they just kind of had a stack, like Trey, like 40 to 50, that was always there. And then I had it forever. And then Krista and I got married, and we had this simple little record player. My dad eventually handed me down the record player I grew up with, which is a really nice old Technics and a Japanese amplifier. And then I just got really into it again because streaming music was coming out, and I was kind of like,
no streaming.
I was kind of against it. Not against it, but I was like, you don't really own that.
You had a moral
It's just
moral
different.
issue with it.
I just love the tactile,
there's something
feel
about
of
it.
Vinyl, so
there is,
and it sounds so good. And I grew up with it, and I loved watching it spin on that turntable.
Yeah.
So I just started collecting more when people were spending money on Pandora or Apple Music every month. And so,
and back then, used albums were very affordable. Like you could go into any record store, and unless they were like first print jazz or something, but still like $5, $6.
Yeah, it's insane. Our local record shop here, Longyear, that's actually been in business 51 years now.
Yeah.
They've moved two times since the original location, but I used to go in there, and I would say probably a quarter of the collection now that's in Stylus I got from the Longyear, but stuff that I could never find now in the wild. And if I did, it's going to be like $60.
Yep.
Like all the prints I own, all like the classic rock, like from Journey to Metallica to Led Zeppelin, all that stuff I bought for so cheap and really awesome pressings, and that stuff, I could find it, but it'd be
you pay a lot of money for
expensive.
Oh my gosh. So, I'm just sad that I got rid of all of mine in a garage sale.
Yeah.
You know what
That's how most of them went. Thank you very much, by the way.
You're welcome.
Thanks for that.
You're welcome. I gave you so many.
Well, I have a little collection in my house that I keep meaning to bring down here and donate to Stylus's vinyl collection. That I think will be fun. I hope. I mean, you might already have some of them, but I know one of them you don't have, so that'll be. And I will come in and request that album
I
to
want
be
my
played.
Dave Brubeck played. That's all I want.
You guys take requests here, by the way?
Yeah, we do during the days. Like Wednesday, Thursday night, we all day, Wednesday, Thursday.
Yeah.
But when we have selectors or DJs on the weekend nights, Friday and Saturday, we try not to request so much because sometimes they're very accommodating and nice about it. We kind of made up a rule like we don't really want to honor it because when you're kind of selecting and you're creating like this 4-hour playlist and you're single tracking all night as a DJ,
That's their art.
Let them do
art.
their
They
thing.
want you to
Let
feel
them
a
do
certain
their
way.
thing.
They're trying to take you somewhere
And
with that.
every time, this is why other people aren't DJs that love music, but this is why, because say they're spinning, like they're in like some 90s zone, you know, and they're spinning Pearl Jam.
Yeah.
Some lady might come up who loves what she's hearing, but she may like, do you have any Dolly Parton?
Yeah, you're like,
And so then that is
so
going to
not
totally change
there.
the trajectory
Right.
of
Of course.
Right.
You know what I mean? And it
Right.
just kind of throws the whole vibe off. So we try not to do it on the weekends when we have a designated
good.
Yeah, that
That's
makes
a good
sense.
thing.
spinning. But during the days, on the weekdays, they're open Wednesday through Saturday, 12 to 9 on Wednesday and Thursday, till 10 p.m. on Friday and Saturday. Right now, we're doing brunch only twice a month. We do it the first and third Sunday only. We find that our brunches are most busy when we do like a themed music brunch, which has been very successful. We've done like Biggie brunch or Beastie Boy brunch, Taylor Swift like twice, and those two.
We did
That's hilarious.
we did the saucy balls brunch.
The Taylor Swift brunches.
Insane.
I bet you sell a lot of champagne.
Dude, a lot of drinks. I mean, those girls are crazy. They sing
oh
their
my
faces
gosh.
off. They're amazing. There's glitter everywhere. You know. But
Wait till you have a burlesque brunch.
Yeah, right.
There we go.
I know, right?
Holly's the star.
But our
right.
December theme brunch, which will be on the 15th, will be Bubbles and Buble. So we're going to do like big band
Oh
stuff.
my God.
Michael Bublé.
And
Oh my
Christmas
God.
music,
That'll be fun.
holiday, you know, Rat Pack stuff.
I love
to get
it.
Sherry and Sherry up here.
That's great.
cool.
Oh my
Sherry
God.
And the food will
That's-
kind of be a smorgasbord of different.
I
Right.
love it. That's so great.
Right.
Oh my gosh. Well, this is so fun.
I know, this is really fun. And Trey, I want to come back to if somebody wanted to join your wine club, how would they?
So easy. You literally just go to our website at savcellars.com, and you can join online, or you can come in and see us in Walla Walla. Or
I highly recommend going.
Absolutely.
Wine is fun in general, so that's the way that our approach to what we make is. We're very serious about our winemaking. Our goal is to make the best wines in Washington State year in, year out. I've got an incredible winemaking team. I spend all my time in the vineyards. Our goal is to craft world-class wines, but we are going to have more fun than anyone else.
Right.
And we're going to make sure that our customers do too, because we think of it in the way of like, what would a customer want to walk into? And the typical wine experience you can find at 80% of the wineries in the valley. And again, nothing wrong with that.
No.
But like we are trying to differentiate ourselves a little bit, and we want people to, when they get back home, go, hey, where'd you guys go that you remember? And we want them to remember our place.
Yeah.
Right.
And we could totally sympathize, and I think it's a big reason why we become good friends with you is because of that concept of, you know, doing outside something of the norm that people have like this expectation. Like a wine bar for us is we get visitors like, wow, this is a wine bar? You know what I mean? Because it's not a quiet, like elevator music type place where it's really quiet and people are just sitting and listening to their own voices. You know, it's an experience, kind of like what you created. It's
it's a place that you definitely want like energy in there. That's the one thing I think. Like we have this big tasting room. It's like if there's only like one table in there, and you still have the music cranked up, you know. So it's like what I love about your space, and Holly and I were talking about when we came in, was like just the use of plants, and if you feel like the wall space, it feels very warm in here. I think I'm going to take some of that back.
Yeah.
We love it.
And you can get a locker if you're lucky.
Yeah.
If you're lucky.
I think the lockers are sold out. I see a name on every one here.
Yeah,
I know.
Allie and Kelly have a locker.
If you look at the bottom row, you'll see Allie and Kelly.
Lucky. We got one. You got to get in early. You have to get it when we die. But I'm just saying, I live till like 106 in my family, so
There we go.
good luck.
I know, right? Good luck with that.
Well, you guys, this has been lovely. We love talking about wine. We love music. It's like it's our heart. It's our passion. And wine. Let's not pretend.
Let's not pussyfoot around.
Let's not pussyfoot around. We love it, and we want to say this is our last show of our fourth season.
Congratulations,
Episode
Thank you so
150.
much.
Yay. Cheers to that.
Cheers to that.
Thanks to Trey and Holly for coming down from Walla Walla.
Pleasure.
Thanks for Krista and Robby for hosting us here. Oh my God, we love them so much. Today is our last show of the fourth season. Make sure, if you're in your car and you're like, what should we do? We should listen to a podcast. We're pretty fun and we're educational and we have a good time. And if you want to know what's going on in the Northwest,
And if it's not fact, it's definitely fiction.
We're not a murder mystery, but we like to talk about wine, art, music, culture, books, literature, poetry. Listen to us.
Yeah.
It's a highfalutin.
We do it all.
We do it all.
Come on. Acting. Come on. So follow us, follow. We're on all the streaming things, you know.
AllieCallieArtcast.com.
Yes.
And you can connect to our Podbean, which is our main platform, but you can find us on any of your favorite podcast app. We really want to do a shout out to Tubbs Coffee Roasters, Ovation Company, Scraps Barbecue, and Pyramid Printing for being our sponsors.
Yes.
Stylus Wine and Vinyl for always being our supporter. And Adam from Range.
Yes, for always
allowing us to use his space for our studio.
So nice.
And then thank you, Trey and Holly, for both being here. We really appreciate it.
We had so much fun.
How much fun?
We had so much fun, too.
We cannot wait to be back to Walla Walla and enjoy more wine.
We had an amazing weekend in Coeur d'Alene, and
Yep.
I'm here all week.
I know you were here for the spectacular weekend. So, yep. So tune in next March around the 1st of March. We will have our
March 7th.
March 7th is our next podcast,
and who knows what it'll be.
If you have any suggestions on anybody that's really creative that you think should be on our podcast, please let us know because we're always open to that.
We're at AllieCallieArtcast.com.
Thank God we speak together. We do. We finish each other's sentences.
That's right. That's what we do.
Yep. And I'm Allie.
And I'm Callie. And whatever you do today, make sure it's creative.
Amen.
And maybe have a glass of wine.
The Allie and Callie Artcast is sponsored in part by Tubbs Coffee Roasters, globally sourced, locally roasted coffee. Scraps Barbecue, a locally owned catering company. The Ovation Company, standing for what is right and good. And Pyramid Printing, a Coeur d'Alene favorite for over 2 decades.